In this short video tutorial, we will be exploring Notebook LM, an AI tool from Google. You can get to Notebook LM by typing notebooklm.google.com in your address browser. Otherwise, you could get there by simply Googling Notebook LM and it will come up. So when you go to Notebook LM, you'll want to make sure you're signed in with your stpaul.k12.mn.us email. When we're signed in under our St. Paul emails, we get significant data privacy and protection, including COPA, FERPA, and HIPAA compliance. So it's very important for us to be signed in here under our Google email address. So if it's the first time you use Notebook LM, it will give you a brief overview, and it will also share with you a couple of example notebooks like Westward Mushrooms and the Invention of the Light Bulb. If this is your first time using Notebook LM, those might be a good place to go in and explore a little bit. Using this example, I'll give you a brief overview of what you see when you open up one of these. On the left-hand side, you see a variety of sources. So this is one of the biggest differences between using Notebook LM and using something like Google Gemini or ChatGPT or another chatbot. And that is that you add your own sources here. We'll go through that in a little bit more detail shortly, but I just want to draw your attention. These are the sources for this notebook. I can select all, I can select some of them, and whatever I select will then be what I engage with here in the middle and on the right-hand side. So let's go to the middle panel here. This is the chat space. And right away on the top, I notice an introduction of what these sources are about. And I notice a chat bot. And I even notice on the bottom here, example question that I might ask. So for now, let's just take that question. I'm asking, how did the light bulb's invention embody a collaborative systems-based approach to innovation? Let's see what Notebook says. Well, it takes just a few moments and very quickly it gives me some answers. And you might notice a little different than other chatbots, it also gives me these numbers. So when I hover over one of these numbers, it gives me more detail and it even shows me if I click on it exactly where that source came from. So this again gets back to a key difference between Notebook LM and other AI chat opportunities, which is that it only references the sources here on the left. So any answers it gives me in the chat box are all connected to one of the sources that I put here on the left-hand side. So this is kind of a big deal. So let's get into a demo notebook that I made and we'll go a little bit deeper on some of these features. So right here, I have an example notebook that I made built around a Jason Reynolds novel called A Long Way Down. And I've taken some time to go in and add some sources. I want to point out a couple things here. You have options for how you get those sources in. You can create sources based on Google Docs or slides. You can add website links. You can add videos. You can choose files like PDFs, and you can even copy and paste text. Now is also a good time to mention that you have at this point 50 sources that you could put in. So that's quite a few sources you can add, individual files, PDFs, Google Docs, websites, slide decks, etc. And you can do up to 50 of them. Once they're here, again, they show up in this sources menu, and I have the option to check specific sources and uncheck others. And whatever sources I check, those will be what gets referenced here. So let's go to our chat, and perhaps I would like to ask Notebook LM to create an engaging lesson hook for 7th grade students as an introduction to this book. Now, again, I only have a few sources checked here, so those are the only sources that this will reference. So I'm going to click this arrow button to generate my lesson hook, and we'll see what Notebook LM comes up with. Might take just a moment. But here it is. It's an engaging lesson hook for 7th grade students, and it's about the unwritten rules and the clock. So I will kind of read through here a little bit and see if I like this, see if this is something that is relevant to my class and what I might want to do. But again, I want to draw your attention to this little reference here. This is showing me exactly what sources it's pulling from. So if I click this number 2, it is coming from this source go up to the top here, this study guide source, and it is particularly pulling from these key terms. So I can very quickly reference where are these sources coming from. Now, over here, if I ask a specific question, such as what are Jason Reynolds' key motivations for writing this book? If I ask that, it's going to search all these sources. Now notice, eventually, like I can keep adding on to this, but if I really like this and I want to save it over here in the right-hand side, I can click this Save to Note button, and now here it is. Now I can quickly go back and reference that. Otherwise, these things just kind of live on in the chat space and they can be kind of hard to find and revisit. So I highly recommend if there's something you want to reference, you save it to the notes. All right, let's go back. Let's add in all of our sources this time. And I want to highlight over here, you can add a study guide. So if I click the study guide down here, it's going to start generating that study guide based on all 13 sources. So let me click in to open that up once it's finished. So here we go. It's a study guide analysis, and it's written a number of questions that I might be able to use, and it's also given me an answer key. So I can continue to engage with this. I could copy and paste it. Otherwise, I can just tuck that away using that closed view, and it lives on down here. I also have the option here to make a briefing doc, an FAQ, or a timeline. Go ahead and explore those when you build your own notebook. And last but not least, and possibly one of the most impressive features here, is this audio overview. So this audio overview allows Notebook LM to preview all of the sources that you have checked. In this case, I have all my sources checked, and it will create a podcast style audio overview between two AI speakers. Now, one option I can click is just to generate. Otherwise, I can customize. So I can decide if I want this to be shorter, the default, or longer. For now, I'll say shorter. And I would like to give it directions about what the AI hosts should focus on. So I've given it some guidance to focus on Jason Reynolds' rationale for writing this book and specifically given it a targeted age group. So let's click generate. And this can take just a few minutes. While it's loading, it's a good opportunity to mention that audio overviews are now available in many languages. So definitely worth exploring that if that would be of value to you or your students. That has finished, and I see it made me just under a 5-minute podcast here in English. I'm going to take a moment and we're actually going to play this so you can hear a little bit of what that is like.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into Jason Reynolds' incredible novel, Long Way Down.
Yeah, it's quite something.
It really is. The whole story basically follows 15-year-old Will Holloman. His brother Sean's just been killed, and Will gets in an elevator, gun tucked in his waistband, heading down to get revenge.
And it all happens in just 67 seconds.
67 intense seconds. Because on each floor down, he meets ghosts. People from his past connected to the violence. It's powerful stuff.
Definitely.
So there you have kind of an overview of what that looks like. And again, if I'm not happy with that, I could delete it, create a new one, and further customize it. I also want to mention there is this interactive mode. And what interactive mode lets you do is it actually lets you interrupt these hosts, ask questions, or have more of a conversation. So it's worth mentioning here that Notebook LM is currently only available for users who are 18 years old and older. However, you could play this on your big screen and have students come up with questions and interact these hosts. Or you could actually download this and pop it onto Schoology or play it live for the class. You're welcome to share these things. This app just does not allow students under 18 to work within it here in Notebook LM. So Notebook LM is a powerful AI tool, a little bit different than Google Gemini or ChatGPT, particularly as you add your own sources and those sources become the only source of truth for each notebook. But there's a lot of potential of how you might use this. I encourage you to hop on to notebooklm.google.com, build a notebook, and begin exploring. Thanks for watching.